Hello creative friends, this is Joy. I hope everyone's doing well. So here I'm just showing you some stencils that I created, and just really simple stencils that I created, and which is something that you can do with these show off stencil sheets, I guess, or plastic sheets that are made to create stencil with. But today I'm going to create masks. And so that is what I've decided to do. I wanted to create some masks that I could use on a jelly plate to do some jelly printing with, so that I can replenish my stash of jelly prints. But I wanted to add kind of like more interest to the jelly prints. And so here I'm just kind of drawing some blobs on the plastic, and then I'm cutting them out. So that's what I'm doing for this particular set of masks. And it's pretty easy to cut out. I mean, the plastic is kind of thick, but it's not too hard, I guess, to cut out. And I just go around each one of the blobby shapes that I drew. I drew it with a Sharpie and just cut it out. Cut out each one as I go. And here's another way you can cut them out, is with a X-Acto knife. But it takes a little bit more effort because you have to go over it multiple times before you can completely cut through the plastic. So that's, the other stencils that I showed you that I created, I did do those with an X-Acto knife, but to me it's just easier just to take a pair of scissors and cut them out if you're going to do masks. If you're going to do stencils, you probably will need to use an X-Acto knife, because you'll want to make sure that you keep the plastic all intact. Whereas, masks, you can pretty much just cut around everything and cut it out, like you see me doing here. So I pretty much just continue to go through and cut out all of these shapes. I also decided to do circles, and so I'm just doing like different size circles. I thought that it'd be fun to use some circles on the jelly plate of different sizes to get, some different patterns and stuff. And then here I'm just showing you, as far as if you do a stencil, you have to make sure that all the pieces are connecting that you leave, like the eyes and, the around the whiskers and stuff. I had to leave pieces of it uncut so that, obviously it could be used as a stencil. Now that I have all these cut out, I could pretty much use this whole thing as a stencil. Just lay it down and whatnot, but I decided to try something different. I decided to take these blobby shapes, cut around them about 1/4 of an inch, leave 1/4 of an inch around these shapes, and make like little mini stencils. And I did cut through the plastic when I cut out the shapes, so I thought, well, I could not worry about it. Or what I end up doing is taking a little bit of packing tape, and I just ended up taping that together. So I have this packing tape, and I just pulled off a little bit of it and wrapped it around that part where it was cut. But then after I did it on the first one here, I thought, well, it might actually be better to do it before I cut them out. And so here I'm just trying to get it on there straight. Apparently fighting with it a little bit. Oh, I took off, that's what it was. I was trying to put it on there, and then I realized that there is a thin film on these sheets of plastic, and so it was pulling up, so I had to pull that off so that I could get the tape on here and wrapped around where it was cut through. And then I used my scissors to cut off any excess packing tape. So that's what I'm doing there. And there's a little bit on the inside of the packing tape that I use my smaller scissors to cut. So there you go. Now it's a little stencil. So I pretty much went through and did that to the others as well. And here is where I'm like, well, I should just go ahead and put the packing tape where I cut through the stencil down first and then cut around. And that seemed to work better, but I had to pull the film off the top of the plastic. And then here I'm just going around and cutting another one of these shapes out. And making like a little mini stencil to use on the jelly plate. So I did that to all of these shapes that are on this piece of plastic. And here I have all the circles cut out. And as you see, I didn't, cut exactly on the circle that I had drew, but close enough. And then here I'm showing you where there's a film that you can pull off. And I'm having some trouble here trying to get it with my fingernails. And so then I'm trying to use a piece of the packing tape to stick to it to pull it off, and I'm having trouble with that as well. That the tape keeps pulling off, but not pulling the plastic with it. And so the thing that I found that works the best is just take the pointy end of the scissors and kind of poke it underneath the plastic, and then I'm able to lift it up and pull it off. So that's what I ended up doing to all of these circles, is going through and using the scissors, the sharp end of the scissors, to poke it just underneath that layer of plastic to get it to lift up and then pull it off. That seemed to work the best. So now that I've got all my circles cut out and my shapes and even more shape stencils, I decided that I wanted to do another shape, which was some triangles. I thought triangles would be nice. So I'm trying to measure out like how big I want the triangles. And I decided that I wanted, instead of cutting up this whole thing with triangles, I'm just going to do 1/2 of it. So I decided that I didn't want all my triangles to be the same size. So I'm kind of measuring. I believe I had one that was 3/4, one that was 1 inch, and then the other was like 1 1/4 inches. And then I'm using my ruler I was going to use my ruler, and I thought, what a pain that's going to be to try to do the triangles, but I think I ended up just doing freehand, saying the heck with it. I'm like, and I can just, who cares if it's not exactly perfectly straight, whatever. So that's what I'm doing. I go through and I just do my triangles. And as you see here, I am actually, or you will see when I start cutting them out, I get a lot of triangles because obviously as I cut them, I have double the triangles that you see here. So that's, why I decided to draw them like this, like a zigzag, because then, when I cut them, like that one piece on the end is only like 1/2, so that's not going to be good. But the rest of these, I just snip, 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 and I got a whole pile of triangles. And then, of course, you end up with a little leftover piece on the other end. So I continued to do that to get these all cut out. So then for the other piece of plastic here, I decided that I wanted to do hexagons or stop signs or whatever you call them. So I kind of practiced on a piece of paper so that when I went on here on the plastic, I could, you know, figure out how to do it. And you'll see here in a minute, I already just off the bat mess it out. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. I didn't leave any space between these two hexagon shapes. So even though this is Sharpie on plastic, it's easy enough to clean off just by spraying some alcohol on a paper towel and wiping it. It wipes right off. So if you ever get Sharpie on anything, alcohol is a trick to getting it off. So I thought these little marks might help me. They did not. And I thought using a ruler might help, but in the end I just freehanded it because I'm like, I don't know. It just didn't, you know, I kept trying to make it work and it just wasn't working, so I just ended up freehanding it. So this was a little bit more of a complicated shape to get, you know, at least the shape. And and they ended up turning out kind of wonky, but you know what? I don't care. I think they're fine. See, I ended up removing those little marks on the edges because I didn't see where they were like helping at all. So I just removed them. So here I'm just again trying to figure out the shape and getting it drawn in and trying to do connecting so that when I cut them, you know, it won't be so hard to get them cut out, and plus, you know, it'll be easier and not as complicated in any case. So I just keep drawing these shapes all the way down this other half of this piece of plastic to see how many I can get on here. And if I started over on one side or the other, I might have been able to get an extra row of them on there on here, and I was like, oh well, it's fine, it's plenty. And then I start to cut them out, and the way I cut them out is I cut all the way up, and actually that end there I could use as a stencil as well on the jelly plate of some kind for like a border or something. And then I do that for each row, and as you see, I'm not exactly, you know, staying on the lines, but close enough. And I'm doing it on the last row, and then I just go through and cut them, you know, apart, and that gives me a bunch of hexagons shapes that I can use on the jelly plate. So I hope you like this and you give me a thumbs up, and I hope you subscribe to see more and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. I will be using these on the jelly plate next in my next video. It was just too long to put it all in one video. So, and here I'm trying to move the plastic off the top of these. And I hope this helps you and gives you some great ideas for your own art practice. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.